我还来抖音了，所以曹操告诉老外，曹操的中文为什么说得好。Americans, welcome to 抖音. Since over the last couple days, several Americans have asked me, hey, your Chinese is pretty good. How'd you do that? The real answer is I graduated from New York University. And you were at New York University, you were required to study 1 year of a foreign language. I didn't want to study Spanish or French or something, the languages that everybody learns. I mean, first it's just kind of boring. I just thought it was a little bit of a cliche. Second, I mean, there are tons of people whose native languages, English and Spanish or English and French, like they speak both fluently. You get no credit for it, and it's not cool. So how am I supposed to compete with those people? It's impossible. And I was pretty angry about it. All those people, those foreigners, they speak, their own language and English, and that's racist against me because I only speak English, and, all that. I don't want to do that. And NYU was like, don't then, right? You be you. Don't study a foreign language. Can't graduate if you don't, but up to you. So I remember I left it until the final year before I graduated, which was 1994. I was flipping through the catalog in Spanish, French, and then I saw, Chinese. I thought, hey, it would be really cool to be that guy, the guy who speaks fluent Chinese and moves around in China, knowing how to do everything. And that's the most interesting man in the world. Whatever I was, 21. And so I called up my dad and I decided what language I'm going to study. And he said, which? And I said, Chinese. And he said, oof, that's going to be difficult. And I said, difficult is nothing. I remember my first day of Chinese class, I kind of wandered around looking for the class. I found it. I walked in and everyone in the class, ethnically Chinese, was the only white guy in the class. Later, I realized there were 3 types of students in the class. There were like Hong Kong students who could write, but they spoke only Cantonese. They wanted to learn Mandarin. There were overseas Chinese who had grown up speaking Chinese with their parents and their grandparents, but they couldn't write, so they wanted to learn how to write. And finally, there were mainland Chinese students who spoke and wrote Mandarin perfectly, because they were from Beijing or Shanghai or whatever. And they just wanted like a little bump in their GPA. So they were like, yeah, I'll just study my native language. And then there was me. The white guy was weird enough to study Chinese in 1994. Class just crushed me. Could not keep up. Particularly my level was the proper level for the class, right? Like I was a beginner. I was beginning Chinese. I spoke Chinese perfectly, so that it's not like the teacher could slow down the class just for one student, even though my level was the level we were supposed to be at. And by the time the final rolled around, I walked into his office. I was like, I thought his name was Mr. He, which was funny. Of course, my Chinese was bad. His name was Mr. He. I said, Professor He, I know that I'm going to fail this class. I'm going to fail the final. I literally can't keep up. I said, so I think He, you need to ask yourself a question, which is, what is your goal? My plan after I graduate is to go to China and live there for like 2 years. And it was, and he knew that. So that I sweated blood trying to learn this language. I figured I might as well go and learn it. I will learn Chinese when I'm in China. On the other hand, you could fail me and I will have to retake the class, and it'll be the same situation where I can't keep up and won't learn Chinese. So you need to ask yourself the question, is your goal to make me learn Chinese or to test me? Take the final. I said, okay. So took it, and it was a blank piece of paper, basically. I must have gotten like 3 answers out of 100. My test result came back, and he had very charitably given me a 60 out of 100, which was the lowest possible passing grade. And so I graduated and went off to China, and this is 30 years later. I've been working in China for almost 27 years. Why am I shooting this video? Mr. He had not allowed me to pass, even though I should not have the life I have now. And so I have already shot this video. I've thanked Mr. He in Chinese, and now I want to shoot this video and thank him in English. Thank you, Mr. He, for giving me the life that I have now. Anyway, 别忘了，下次说曹操，曹操知道。